Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special version of HiFi Chats. We've got Alan in the same chair, but in a different role this week. So it should be fun. Let me mute. Sorry about that. Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I've been looking forward to this. So,
I,
yeah.
yeah. Fortunately, I'm heading to the beach right after this, so it's all good.
So we'll get you out of there on
Getting
time.
ready to get a few days of sunshine, some reading, a little time with dog, and HiFi is going to see the ocean for the first time, so I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, heading close to Destin.
So. Yeah, well, I guess we'll get a few things out of the way as you've been doing, and everybody should. Wanted to thank all the first responders and all the health professionals out there fighting this virus that's inspired us to do these HiFi chats and changed a lot of the ways that we've taken care of things at the store, which we'll get into. And also wanted to let everyone know, in case you don't know already, that the store is open. Has been open now for a week. I think we officially reopened on Monday. A little different hours. We're open 11 to 4 at the showroom, and we are answering phones from 9 to 7, Monday through Saturday. So lots of ways to reach us. We're still doing lots of shipping, curbside pickup, all that for people that are interested in that. But if you want to come and listen to some stuff, we'll take care of you and let you listen as much as you want at the store. So come see Alan when he gets back from the beach. So you ready to go?
Yeah, man. Tell them who you are.
I'm Chris, by the way. I'm always, I've actually been on all of these, and I've just muted and my camera's off, and I'm the one that's normally on the YouTube chat, kind of getting everybody's questions and running everything in the background. So this is a little different for me, actually being on camera and in front of everybody. So,
and what's your position at the store? Sorry, I'm starting the interview for you.
So it always changes, and
it does.
I guess title-wise, I'm the general manager. So I do a little bit of everything. So it's, lots of troubleshooting and do a lot of the Control4 stuff right now and home networks. So if you need any of that stuff, which everybody seems to, with all the streaming we're doing these days, I can take care of that. And everybody else at the store can help get you the right sound and everything. So, and today I'm the interviewer. So new thing for
provided I'll let you.
Right, yeah. new part of this for me. So I guess we'll get started and talk a little bit about how you got started and growing up. So why don't you tell us about where you grew up and your family and stuff like that?
Okay. I was born in Morristown, New Jersey. Lived there till I was about 3. I don't think I had a lot of decision on the move to Greensboro, North Carolina, but Greensboro is such a wonderful city, and I grew up there with my brother and sister. Who now have my brother has 1 niece, and my sister has 3 nephews who I absolutely adore, and end up finding most of them are all graduated. The last one's well, I should say the last nephew is going to graduate this December. And kind of strange circumstances for folks right now in school, and I really feel for him. But at the same time, he's been pretty amazing in accomplishing and overcoming some things, and I know I did that in my life, and so I look up in a big way to him. But I have my parents are both still alive, which I'm so thankful for. I love them to death, and I wish I could go see them. I'm thinking about doing I guess maybe a little more than a drive-by sometime soon, and hope I get a chance to do that. Maybe sit out in the backyard and chat for a while. But needless to say, they're both in their mid to late 80s, and so a lot of concern for them. But
yep.
They've been holding their own and doing their best. And my mom is now Mrs. Zoom, and it was kind of funny because we had a family Zoom meeting, and we sent them the instructions, told them it was coming. It started at 7. They got on at about 7:30, and everybody went, so it was pretty great. But anyway, that was really fun. Greensboro was awesome. went to school. I GED'd when I was 17, 18. School and I didn't get along very well. I'm a dyslexic, and I love to learn, just didn't like the way it was taught. And kind of when I don't like something, I fight it pretty heavily, and pretty tough to get through me once we get to that point, as you probably know.
Yeah.
But anyway, from there, I'm not sure how far you want me to go out with this, but from there, I went to Asheville, North Carolina for about a year. And then I saw an ad in Skiing Magazine. I'd been to Vail with my family when I was about 12, and promised myself I'd get back as soon as I could. And well, here was my opportunity. So I at the time in Asheville was working for McDonald's and Burger King at the very same time. So I'd work 8 hours at one, hop out of one little uniform and into another little uniform, work another 8 hours, and then go home and sleep. And but that's how I was trying to make some money during that time. And so anyway, I sent a resume to work for McDonald's out in Vail. They told me, come on. So
I didn't even give you a resume, so that's pretty impressive. So.
Yeah. I don't even know what a resume is anymore. I've never hired or really done anything that way for myself or for anyone else. As a matter of fact, I know you and I never had a resume together. So,
nope.
But so I guess one of the biggest things, as I did that, I went to Vail and I was a ski bum for about 2 or 3 years and was still kind of trying to find myself, and became a rather good skier. As most people that know me, I don't do anything lightly. Pretty much full bore at whatever I do. And so I actually went from there and I've had about 100 jobs in my life before I really fell into what I love. And that's not an exaggeration. I had a lot of jobs for 2 weeks, 10 days, 4 days. I could tell if I wanted to be there or not. But I went out and started selling vacuum cleaners all over North and South Dakota and Montana and Wyoming, and got to see a whole bunch of the world. Spent 3 nights at Devil's Tower all by myself. Never saw another visitor during the entire time. That was quite an experience. And I had kind of just a quick little story on selling vacuum cleaners. I had a 4-door Toyota Corolla with 3 doors. And I had paid, I think, $275 or $300 for it in Casper, Wyoming, and drove it out and was starting to knock on doors. And I'd have to kind of go down one side of the street so they didn't see I was missing a door. And and so anyway, it kind of didn't. I was doing great, but it was really a learning curve for me, and just something about relationships and how quickly you can build them and that kind of thing as well. And so I kind of figured out. I started trying to think about it a little bit, and so I figured out a way to go into these really tiny towns. If you had a diner. And only one diner, it was the perfect size town for me, because I would go into that town and I'd sit at the diner, and the ladies would start talking to me and that, hey, honey, or sugar, or whatever it is. And I'd say, hey, and they'd say, what are you doing here? And I'd say, oh, well, I'm heading on down to the next town. And, I'm selling vacuum cleaners, really high quality and that kind of thing. And so anyway, I'd go back to the diner the next morning and they'd tell me, oh, I was talking to so-and-so about you, and so on. And so anyway, she would actually start making appointments for me. And so then once I kind of got into one, these are small enough towns. So once somebody bought one, somebody else would want to buy something better or more and that kind of thing. So I would literally go into towns of, 100 people sometimes and sell, 6, 8, 10, 12 vacuum cleaners and shampooers and all that kind of stuff. It was really crazy. So out of about 60,000 salespeople in the nation, I was normally within the top 10 about every month. And that went on for, 9, 10 months. And then I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but this sure was fun. And so I left that and actually moved with the girl to Grants, New Mexico. I call it the hellhole of the world. Don't ever move there. Not for
Hopefully
any
no
reason.
one from there is watching right now.
Not I'm sure. There is no reason to ever go there. Okay. And listen, nice people and that kind of thing. But actually, the girl went before me, and by the time I got down there, she had already found somebody else. So needless to say, I was in a bad position, and so I had to work there. So I started working in the car business. And so anyway, I worked in the place, made some of my first great sales there. And so they were so excited after my first 3 months, they sent me to Phoenix, which was a really bad move on their part. But they sent me to Phoenix to go race the SVO on the Phoenix International Raceway. And so I went down there, and while we were out at night, I met another lady there. And so anyway, I wound up kind of not really moving for her, but moving in that direction just because I wanted to get out of grants. And so Phoenix was a great place for me. So, and I worked for Mel Clayton Ford, and shall we say was one of their top salesmen for a while. Also Mecum Pontiac, I was their top salesman basically for the year I worked there. So I had a big old Trans Am demo and all that kind of stuff. I was a badass.
Yeah, wow. So but, I guess, I mean, you were in sales obviously for a long time before doing anything audio related.
Well, I think I genuinely think as a kid, when you're about 3, you start your sales job.
Yeah.
Because in reality, we're all kind of trying to get our way and that kind of stuff. And influencing others has always been something I've kind of been pretty great on. And I think when you pack knowledge behind that and you sell quality goods, it's really pretty tough to beat because, people really want better stuff. And if you have that ability and you can actually communicate, and, I look at communication as being one of the biggest things, in relationships and that kind of thing. I've always been extremely open, as anybody that I work with knows. I don't beat around the bush. I'm very direct. I try to be kind. I also have no problems having a very difficult conversation with anybody. The way I do that is, and I don't know, it's been a lesson for me and something I try to teach others. And that is that if you have to go have a very, very, very difficult conversation, fill your heart full of love and go have it. Because if you really do have your heart full of love, it's impossible to, come from a bad place. So anyway, but from there, I moved to Casa Grande, Arizona. I was actually with Mel Clayton. I became really good friends with the guys in the finance department, and those guys are making great money and driving fancy cars and all that kind of thing. And I was like, dude, I want this. So anyway, so I went to a developing dealership in Casa Grande, Arizona, and I started working with that dealer. And actually, I was a service manager, a sales manager, a salesman. Did I cover the service? But anyway, I worked in all the facets of it. And Ford Motor Company wanted me to kind of start going into dealership training. And I decided it was just time for me to leave the business. It was a different business in the mid 80s and not something I was really comfortable in. So anyway, so I left it and worked for a different dealership after I left that place, and just worked there for about a month or two. And actually, I got a call one day from some folks that owned a place called the Satellite Center, Michael and Christina Holbrook. And you end up finding they own the Satellite Center, and they said they wanted to look at a van. So I went over there and walked into this place, and my life changed that day. It was the day that I actually found audio. And I heard a system that I can remember the gear. It was Yamaha M80 and C80 and M80 with a pair of JBL L300s. And I heard Steve Winwood back in the High Life, and it just absolutely just knocked me off my feet. And so I worked for them 2 days later. And this has basically been pretty much the concentration of my life ever since.
And when was that? So how long ago was that? How long
86.
86?
Something like that. Yeah.
That was a good year.
That was a very, very, very good year.
That year. That was
That's right. That just came up the other day, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I have rambled on. Does that kind of cover that?
Yeah. Okay. I think that Sorry, gets folks. Us to right where we should be, which is how you got into audio. So
that is the moment. And I also bought the very first Nintendo.
That was in Arizona?
Yep, in Casa Grande, Arizona.
Wow.
The rep that was the rep for the store was basically, it was like his first day out. And so anyway, but man, we played Duck Hunt, and I got this, me and my ex had this thing called Gradius, and we had to get this controller that would slow it down enough so we could get all the way through the game. I remember at 3 o'clock in the morning, I mean, it took us 3 hours to get from the beginning to the end of the game. And I remember when I finally did it, and then it threw up the same screen from the beginning of it, just with like 3 times as much crap on it. And I threw the controller away and said, I'm done. So that was the end of my Nintendo experience.
There you go. Well, that's a good segue. So, I mean, outside of audio, sounds like video games didn't stick after that.
No, I mean, I enjoy racing, the little thing that we have here at the store. That's pretty awesome on the big screen. I love that.
That's true, yeah. But other hobbies that you have outside of audio?
I asked Richard
Okay, fine.
Bannerstein this question, and he and I were laughing back and forth about it because, his hobbies are vast, and not for me to say I'm with him. I have a lot of hobbies. I love running. I've run a marathon, quite a few half marathons. Shall we say my marathon days are over. I can't train for it, period. It's just too much on my whole body. I turn 59 in a month. And and by the way, my dog HiFi and I share the same birthday.
So it's easy to remember.
Gonna be a special July 3rd. Yeah, it'll help me remember when my birthday is.
Yeah, right. Right.
Oh gosh. I love turning wood bowls. My dad taught me this, and he bought a lathe, had a lot of interest in it, had a very good friend that turned bowls with him. And my dad is very patient in teaching me, and I don't know how he does it, but anyway, I was grateful for him in that regard. But this is actually the very first wood bowl I turned. I did this in '05. This is black gum. It took me nearly 14 hours to make this little horrible bowl. As I don't have any of my kind of fancy ones that I've done, but this is another one that I've done here. You can even see little HiFi's little bite marks right here where he's gotten on it. But so I always try and do things that are a little bit different and unusual. So you can see how it's kind of, this was done out of a square board, believe it or not. Now you can kind of see that, and put a little kind of round lip on it. But I really like being creative. I love that. I occasionally paint. I like poetry and have written some pretty nice stuff. I don't share much of it. I understand. Because a lot of it's pretty personal, but if I wanted to, when I was at Satellite Center sharing, doing, I've carried these things around forever. So
I didn't know the story behind them until
carrying
today.
these things around.
Yeah.
So this is Chipper. This is this is Nipper. This is Chipper. Yes. And you end up finding I got these for selling the most RCA dementia systems. It was about a $5,000 surround sound system. And so I sold more of them than just about anybody on the West Coast. So they gave away stuffed animals. And I think I got something else too, some kind of spiffs or something. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. So I carry those just to remind me of those times in the very beginning, kind of my career in this.
That's awesome.
So sorry for the segue.
No, that's all right.
That wasn't a segue.
I think,
that was a disconnect and a.
That's all right. I think we kind of went over all the life experiences that kind of led to this. What I guess the part of the gap in the stories that I've heard over the years too is how you got into starting your own business. I know how you got into, how audio drew you in and how you started working in that business and all that. But I guess what and how did you go about starting the business that you just celebrated 25 years in?
Yeah, that was quite a milestone.
It was.
Even shook me up a little bit. My mom, my ex always complained to her mom that I don't understand why Alan's changing jobs all the time. And I loved her response to her because she said, well, is he ever not working? She said, no. She said, well, then what are you worried about? And so anyway, I thought that was just perfect.
That's pretty reasonable.
So anyway, I was always, again, like I said, I've had probably 100 jobs in my life, and I've done, I couldn't even explain to you how much I've done. Restored houses, worked in restaurants, line cooks, prep cooks, sold shoes. I've been a stock clerk. It goes on and on and on. So, but with all this experience, it gave me an extremely well-rounded background to look at things in many different ways. I've always been very, very observant of others, which has always made it very good. Sometimes it's detrimental to those around me because I can see what they're thinking, even if they don't know. So I guess, sorry, I lost my space there.
I was just wondering kind of what the inspiration was or how you got started, what the kind of early years of.
I was working with Hunter Douglas Window Fashions, and I had been buying and selling used gear out of my house for years and years, ever since '86. So I moved to Atlanta.
You still have some customers, right? That bought used gear from you out of your house, right?
Yep. Even a very good friend of mine, Randy Blue, who great dude. him and quite a few others came over to my house and bought stuff. And as I was getting closer to the store, they couldn't figure out why I didn't want to sell them the stuff for the price they wanted. It's because I was stacking up inventory for my store.
Right.
But anyway, I borrowed a little bit of money from my parents. I got a tiny little SBA loan. And you know, I got fired from Hunter Douglas and given a severance check. And so that was the time for me to move on it. So we sat down and made about a 20-page business plan and took it to the bank and SBA. And so anyway, we wanted to be in one location. They wanted us to be in another. And so we wound up in Lilburn because of them. And
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah.
That's the store right there. And
never saw that one myself. I saw the one next door.
I opened that up in May of 1995. And wow, what a long time ago. And I remember that I would go out in the morning and do installs at people's houses and do it at night, and then be at work all day because it was just the two of us in the store. Me and my ex worked together. And she was very good on the books and that kind of thing. And I was really good on the floor. And you know, God, that store, I mean, it was stacked floor to ceiling with Altex and JBLs and Macintosh and so on and so forth. And I still have a few of the pieces that were in that store actually here in the museum.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually if any of that stuff that you bought and sold over the years, I mean, in doing it for 30 years, is there anything that stands out are some of the favorite pieces that you've had back in the museum in the store, which everybody can come see, by the way?
Well, my first tech, Robert Cunningham, who was basically my really only tech and worked for me for 24 years, I guess.
Yeah.
He left me for a little bit and went to go work for Wizard Electronics, who I worked for as well as a counterman. And anyway, Robert was wanting to leave. And so I told him, why don't you start a business? I got enough business for you to survive. And so that way you can get yourself going. And, you know, I love helping people be in business that want to be, and would help any of y'all out there if the opportunities ever arise. I love entrepreneurism. I think it's, you know, it's really, I don't know, it's more difficult, more fun than you think. So I think both of those are true.
Thankfully, I've got a good place to work. So
well, I am thankful for that, and I'm thankful for you working here. We work well together. We are two opposite brains that actually communicate pretty well, so it works well. But you know, I have a Robert. I went to his house one time, and actually, I bought a Leak Stereo 20, which I have in the museum, and it's actually in its kind of straw box or straw fitting thing inside of a cardboard box, and it's a pretty unique amp. You know, I had a pair of quad 57s that I'd still like to have. Even though I don't know where I'd put them, because I've got Vandersteen 7s.
Keep hearing about quad all over these HiFi chats. I've never,
you know, that was a special speaker.
Keep coming up, you know. It's
that little thing there was absolutely neat. And I'll tell you, if you saw them, you'd sit there and look at them and go, "Damn, that's cool." Because I mean, they look like they're 1950s, and they were. And I've got a David Bogan D030 back there, which is probably my favorite amplifier. I don't really know why. But it has all its stock KT 66s or 88s in it, and it's kind of a hammer plate finish. And if I could find another one, I'd own it. And anyway, that's a pretty cool amp. Will I ever play it? Even if I bought another one, no, because what I have is going to sound a lot better. But I just you know, I love antiques. I think they're cool. Yeah. It's kind of like an old car that I own that, you know, it doesn't drive worth shit, but I like the car. So, you know, the new stuff today, manufacturing, engineering techniques and things like that are just a whole nother level. And I think we just don't understand what that is. And I wish that I was a little more in manufacturing to understand how it's come along. But you know, I don't need to be. I've got enough to do.
So kind of a unique question for you with all the, I mean, like you said, you've had 100 jobs, so you might have an idea of this, but I'm kind of interested to know what you think you'd be doing if you hadn't walked into that shop all those years.
You know, I have no idea. Maybe I'd have 500 jobs by now. and that's the reality. You know, you asked a little bit about previously about, you know, what made you go into business and that kind of thing. And I kind of realized through all those, my mom actually set me up with a lady to kind of advise me in business. And this was back in the mid 80s, kind of, take what I know and what I love and kind of say, all right, this is the path you should go down. And that kind of came out. And I actually read some of that. I found it the other day in my condo, and it was very much about, and I have a hard time taking following. So I
you don't say.
It's I didn't know that I wanted to admit that, but it's true. I will follow if it's led correctly. And you've seen that. It has taken me a few years to get complete faith in you, and you led us down a couple of roads that I'll talk about later. But I've also realized, I guess, well, I'm kind of getting away from the subject. All right, so what else would I be doing? So my mom and I had a conversation. I was getting burnt out at the store. And I don't know how long ago this was, 10, 12, 13 years ago or something along that lines. And I was kind of burnt out, and I was trying to tell my mom, I can't do this anymore. And I love music and I love my HiFi, but I just, sometimes these people just are hard to work for. And I don't mean that and literally, I just, it's when you burn out or when you're not feeling good. It's in your own mindset. It's not in theirs. And,
right.
But anyway, I was sitting there chatting with her, and then all of a sudden I said, well, Mom, but I just don't know what else I'd do. And it just absolutely clicked in me at that moment. And it probably takes your mom to get that kind of stuff out of you. But, from that moment forward, I have absolutely had no reservations whatsoever that I am exactly where I belong.
It certainly fits. You fit the store, and the store fits you for sure.
It is my culture. So
yeah, absolutely.
So if I don't fit it, I got some work to do. But I am fortunate and blessed by all the people that work for me, and that they understand and believe and get the culture. We are a free and easy company to work for. We're a lot of fun to work with, and we do actually give a crap.
I'll second that. Yeah.
And I think, we had a management meeting one time, and I thought it was really interesting because we were kind of trying to define our culture a little bit. And we had this list of these, 30 things or whatever. And about 15 of them came under the title of give a shit. And so we just,
yeah.
it just, so that became part of our culture. And I think it's really important. If you don't care, I mean, what good are you? So anyway, it's something that we look to all the way across the store. I also don't believe in delays. I hate waiting to get stuff done. Progress is so important. It's so important from my personal being. Moving forward is a big, big deal. And when things get stifled and things don't move anywhere, it is probably the biggest thing that bothers me. And you have seen that.
I've seen that. And there's been very little sitting still in the 7.5 years I've been working here. So very little. It looks a lot different than it did when I
boy does it. I mean, look,
physically and everything. So
yeah. Yeah, and I look different physically. So
me too. So I guess we'll take a minute to do what you've called housekeeping, and take a little break.
Very good.
Thank everybody for watching and joining us, and get some questions. We've already got some questions, which I might sprinkle in since I'm watching the YouTube chat and doing this live now instead of sitting behind the scenes. But I know we've got a couple of guests that just got scheduled this week coming up. Do you want to share any
Sure.
of those? Or
Absolutely. I've got Dave Gordon with Audio Research coming up a week from today at 2:00. Dave has been with Audio Research. He is gosh, what would you say? I don't even know what words you would use for him. He's just absolutely one of the standouts in the industry. He's been in it a long time. He's an absolute gentleman, and I can't wait to have him.
Yeah, he'll be great for sure.
Yep. And let's see, after that, the following week, I have Michael Frimmer. Basically Analog Planet, and works with Stereophile as one of their chief editors, I believe. And anyway, he's been to the store. He very much sees a lot of things as I do, and I've always enjoyed my conversations with him. And he's such an analog dude that I get it. So anyway, I'm really excited to have him on board. And I'm just so excited about being able to learn more about all these people. And I think what has been most surprising to me is the amount of industry people that have tuned in to learn about their colleagues and, about them as a person. And because in this day and
Yeah, it's
age,
been fun.
human is what we're all trying to reach. Because these have been tough times, and tougher for some and not for others. Everybody said we're all in the same boat, but we're maybe not all paddling the same boat. And I just anyway, I'll feel for those that are having much difficulty. I've had my own. I got no doubts about that. The first week this all kind of started, I was just in a head swim. It took me about a week to find vision, and I'll discuss that with you in a little bit. So
Sure. Yeah. So we certainly appreciate everybody watching. If you haven't already, to subscribe to our channel. Keeps us going on these. We love all the feedback we've had. We're really happy that everybody has enjoyed these. I've looked forward to them every week. I've certainly learned something every week. So we're going to keep doing them as long as everybody keeps watching. So you ready to get back?
End.
Yeah, right. This is it. Everybody's gone now. I think you mentioned it already, but the next question is one that you've asked everybody, is kind of what your first sort of wow moment was.
I'll add a little bit to that. I mean, my parents love music. My mom convinced me to sing in church and things along that lines. And her favorite voice has always been a young man's voice. And so she's always enjoyed the choirs and that kind of thing. And, she played the piano. And so my dad enjoyed the stereo. I remember when he bought a stereo and brought it home and put it in the hall. And shall we say it was, not something that I don't know. I didn't realize the music total connection with me until that time at the Satellite Center in Casa Grande, where it just blew my mind. It was all I could think about. And I'll tell you another little experience. I'm sorry for all the long stories here, but anyway, we
got you here for. That's
so my ex and I had just bought a house, which, believe it or not, is less than the pair of speakers I just purchased a few years ago. It was a foreclosure. I remember going out to the sod farms and picking up scraps and bringing it all back in the truck and making a sod lawn. And put in a sprinkler system and all that kind of thing. Like I say, I've learned to do about just about anything out there. And anyway, we had about $62 in our account. And so I'm about 3 weeks from the time that I heard that stereo and started working for the Satellite Center. So I'm at a Salvation Army, and they have this big, huge Kenwood something with big old tubes and big transformers, and it had a 220 cord. And I'm going, damn, that looks interesting. That looks like quality. I've heard of Kenwood. So I take $52.50 of our last $62 and spent it on that, and brought it home and was so proud of myself. And you can imagine what I got received as.
Yep.
But anyway, in about 10 days, I put an ad in the Phoenix paper. In about 10 days, I sold that thing for $1,200. And I was given permission from that time forward to kind of do what I wanted to, though she came along reluctantly. That was needless to say, there was a celebration in the house that night. And but anyway, that was just one of my experiences.
That was your first wow sales moment for audio?
Yeah. I mean, I've had a few others that were, I remember buying a JBL speaker that I bought for $50 and sold the cabinet to a guy for $8,000, and still have the woofers in my house. They're 32 ohm JBL woofers, which they made very, very few of. And I have scavenged and scourged the earth for stuff. I bought and sold out of my house for quite a few years, maybe not 10, but close to that. And probably every year sold probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 worth of gear out of my house, and made a pretty decent amount of money. And basically that was really kind of what I call my masters in audio. And it's what allowed me to learn how things work together, what they did. I got to touch and feel and play with things, own them, listen to them. And then when I opened that store, we did used gear only for about the first year, maybe a year and a half. And then we continued to do an awful lot of used gear after that. And
what was the first brand you carried new?
MTX.
MTX.
We were killing it.
Yeah.
So we had an 11-inch Hitachi AC/DC TV on a box. And this was right at the store when you walked in. So you'd go to the right, I don't know if any of y'all remember this, but anyway, it we had MTX center and MTX left and a right and a couple of rears, and I had a lawn chair, with the little weaved in webbing, that kind of thing, and that was our first theater demonstration. So and then we
11-inch screen. Yeah.
then we went to PSB and NAD directly after that. Mr. Jim Kershaw and Jim Price and that kind of thing. Both those guys I still know real well.
Still carry them.
What's that?
Still carrying NAD.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you end up finding a great brand. And so, from 1996 till today, NAD's been pretty much a stalwart within the store. Because they have kept a pretty narrow-minded focus on what they wanted to do. I think they've, come off that just a little bit with some of the other things, but I'll leave that alone. I'm still very proud of them for keeping integrated.
Stir the pot too much on these.
I'm still very proud of them for keeping integrateds and things along that lines to a degree that they should. They invited me up to their home office and asked my opinion and several other dealers of things. And I probably spoke up too much, but I normally do. And but it's one of those things where I have very strong beliefs, and I believe people should have tunnel vision in their direction of what they want to do and not let the world tell them what they should do. Yeah. And I think my store has absolutely spoken that.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of questions about this, the next thing I had on the list here, sort of, but interested to know if I probably have heard it, I imagine, but if there's a particular piece of music that still moves you, or if it's something from your past, or is even something recently that you've been kind of stuck on. So
from my past, there's too much music that moves me, so I'll stay away from that. Sure. It just goes all the way across the board. Neil Young, Pink Floyd, probably my favorite bands. I grew up listening to them. Never forget, I was in Asheville, North Carolina. I had a good roommate by the name of Rick Zeitlin, who actually moved to Vail with me. And you end up finding when Pink Floyd The Wall came out, we had an auto reverse cassette, and literally all it did was go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it had to have gone on for months. It just, I don't know, that album just really, really captured me and still does today in ways that I'm not sure another album does. And I may get back there later. But, one today, I will tell you, there's one song that I've probably been playing for people too much, and the guys here might be tired of it, but this is Annette Aspic. There's a song on here called Liberty.
I've definitely heard that one at the store.
It is, yeah, I know you have. It is just, wow, and a good stereo. I mean, it is just like, the words are chilling. And it just has such a sense of atmosphere and kind of some special little things that go on in it that it really, I don't think I've ever had a song that I've played for people where I've been asked or been called back at the store, what was that song that you played for me? It's probably happened 40 times.
Yeah, even without being in the store, I get that call and I know what the answer is.
See, that's where the consistency comes from.
Right.
So. But that song's really special, and actually the rest of the album's pretty good too. So I think she's a special find, and that's great stuff. So again, Annette Askvik, Askvik.
I'll make sure it gets added to the HiFi Chats playlist.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's on Tidal or Qobuz or whatever. I think it's only on one of the services.
Yeah, it looks like it got taken off one of them recently for whatever reason. But I'll put it on wherever it's available. So
awesome.
So I sent you these questions a couple days ago, so this answer may have changed since then, but
actually,
I was just wondering what the last album you sat down and listened to start to finish, because we demo a lot of stuff at the store, and sometimes we don't even listen to a whole song all the way through. So I know it's been a while for myself to listen to an album all the way through, and just wondering if your new turntable maybe has inspired you to sit down and listen to anything all the way through.
It has inspired me to listen to lots of stuff all the way through. So I was actually, this internet hole that we're all going into these days because we have so much time to do it. And I'm not saying I have a lot of time, because I feel like I've been working 70-hour weeks since the end of February. And my workload has actually increased through all this thing. And that's part of the reason I'm just can't wait to drive to the beach tonight. So I'm very excited about it. So I was watching a podcast, and it was talking about Fleetwood Mac rumors, and it was talking about this guy went through the 10 different kind of issues that were out. And it turns out I have the top 3 issues that he spoke about. And one of them is the 45 RPM reissue that they did that we actually, I think, have a copy here at the store.
Yeah, we've played it quite a bit, yeah.
And all I can say is that, that album just, it's, it just has such a feel to it. And there's just such, Mick on the drums, just, my gosh, the fullness and richness of that. I just bought a Brinkman Taurus with a big Lyra cartridge on it. And it's really my first nice upgrade since I got my 7s. And so I'm very excited about it. That was probably my last pair of speakers, my last turntable. And I don't have any want in any direction whatsoever of those 2 products. And so I'm thrilled to have them home. And I just, Rumors is just one of those albums that just, it's captured me for so many years. It's still, they were talking about in there that, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon and Fleetwood Mac Rumors are 2 albums you need to have in your stock all the time, always for sale. And it is kind of funny when you look at that, if you buy a turntable.
Abbey Road.
Yeah, Abbey. Thank you. I have no logos. I went sponsor free today.
It was my music shirt. I don't know. I figured it'd be appropriate.
Let me add my sponsorship.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Right, sorry.
So that's a good segue with the HiFi buy set. I wanted to just let everybody know we've been doing these a series of 10 questions. They're kind of rapid fire questions. We've actually recorded a lot of these right after the HiFi chats with the people that have been on. So those will be coming out on our social media. So they're kind of intended to be right off the top of your head. We're going to go a little deeper. I'm going to kind of give a little tease and get Alan's answers on some of the questions that we use, but we'll go a little deeper than we do on these rapid fire 10 questions. But if you have the feeling to, if you feel like you want to, come by the store. We'll actually record you doing them. And for your time and effort on that, we give you a free t-shirt or a free HiFi Buys hat, or we've got bandanas now too. We've got branded stuff all over the place. So there's the bandanas. So, that's how we're getting some of this stuff out there. So we've got plenty of t-shirts and hats, I think, still around. So, so you ready for 5 of the 10 questions?
I believe I am.
Okay. All right. So I just asked you what the last album you listened to was, but so what is the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards.
I've not heard of that. I'm gonna have to go listen to that. That's probably the first one that I haven't heard of out of all of these that we've
There's
done.
a song in there called The Wizard.
Okay.
It was the Wizard of 1,000 Dreams.
I'm putting it on the HiFi Chats playlist. So
cool. It's a very, very different album.
I bet.
Not something most of you are used to, but it's kind of cool.
I'm gonna go check it out. Yeah.
Good.
So
do so.
What was the first concert you ever attended?
Doobie Brothers in Richmond, Virginia.
How old were you?
I think like 12, 13.
Okay. There you go. What was the best concert you've ever seen?
This is a really, really tough one. I went to Vail, Colorado, and I hitchhiked from Vail, Colorado. I can't tell you how many times to concerts at Red Rocks. So I have seen numerous concerts at Red Rocks Park. It's one of my favorite venues in the entire world. I doubt there's anything else. I was there when you could actually walk out, and I did several times and sit on top of the big rocks. And they don't let you do that anymore, though I have seen an occasion of somebody out there. But, that was a time when I would be very fine sitting on the edge. Today, I'd, be about 10 feet back. So I'm gonna look over like that and go, oh. In Boulder, Colorado, during that same period of time, they did what they call Sunday number 1s and Sunday number 2s. And that was when they always got like 3 or 4 big bands together. And so I went to a concert with the Rolling Stones, George Thorogood, and Hart. And that was special all the way through. I remember there were 2 of us. We had a group of about 10 of us that were getting there. And some of the folks were with the newspaper. And so they were kind of able to tell us when gates would actually open and that kind of thing, because they kind of knew all the facts and that kind of stuff. So I remember being in this very crowded little gate area, and with the gate slapped, and as we got kind of closer to things, I remember lifting my feet up off the ground and I didn't drop. That's how tight and packed it was. Now I weighed
Wow.
160 pounds. I was still 6'2" then, but weighed about 160 pounds. They called me Bones Jones. And but anyway, so as soon as that thing, it was, they opened up the gates there, and then you had to run all the way down the stairs and then all the way across the football field. And then you'd go lay out your blanket and you'd spread out like this. So we had the two biggest guys that we could do that with. And so anyway, we sat pretty much front row. And that was an extraordinary thing. I have to tell you that, the Stones were awesome. Mick, he had the crane, came out with a big arm and that kind of thing. Most people have seen the pictures from, that concert and or that tour. George Thorogood, my God, what drive, oh my gosh, what power. And then Hart, did their thing. And anyway, great
Sounds like a great show.
All the way through. It was.
Sorry if you're hearing any noise. They've decided to blow leaves right outside my apartment.
That's all right. I remember trying to find the car, and it took me about an hour and a half after the concert to find the car because, wow, that was just some kind of day.
That's awesome. So I guess Red Rocks is your favorite place to see a show, but what is your favorite place to see a show in Atlanta?
This is kind of a tough one because for one, I like seated arenas because these days, again, being a little older, I like to have a seat. I tend to get in everybody's way because of my height. And so people don't like me in front of them, and I tend to like to be up front. So,
me and Mike don't have that problem.
No, no comment. But I have to tell you, the Fox, just a special place. My gosh, what a special place. We are so fortunate in Atlanta that they decided to rebuild it instead of do something different. I forget what years that was, but it was quite a while ago. Yeah. And needless to say, I think everybody sees that. Chastain is amazing. In its own right, I've had some of the most magical little times out there as well. I am a show goer. Anybody knows me, I am concert. And I love live music. I've been to just about every venue in Atlanta several times. And I love them all. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be the Fox.
Awesome. So I think you've already mentioned it. This is the last one of our 5 of the 10 questions, but what is your Desert Island album? So
you are correct. It is Pink Floyd The Wall.
Yep.
And I thought about this actually for I don't know, a night, because that's all I had. But
I didn't want you to, get.
I kept asking them for a week. Where are my questions? Where are my questions? And that's what all the manufacturers and the guys that I'm interviewing are asking me the same thing. Right. So yeah. I guess it was well deserved.
Payback. Yeah.
But it has. Gilmore on that guitar and some of those riffs that are in that are just things that just, I don't know. It just hits me. And songs like Mother and things like that. So it can take you way up, it can take you way down, it can have you with very deep thoughts, it can have something that's just easy, have something that's powerful and fun. It kind of covers the gamut.
Yeah.
So I just see it as an album that if I was going to have one, I proved it earlier in my life that I could listen to it over and over for months. So,
right. So
if I'm on an island, I guess that's probably got to be it. So yeah. There's a bunch of other albums. Neil Young, my gosh, I was listening to Massey Hall the other day. Oh, wow. What an album. So anyway, that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great. Well, we'll take another little break and just ask everybody to like the video, subscribe, helps us out, gets the word out there, and just helps grow the HiFi Buys community and family. So that's what we're trying to do. So we appreciate everybody for watching these every week. So and we've got 2 more scheduled at least. I know we threw around ideas that seem like it would take us through the rest of the year, but we've got 2 confirmed that Alan mentioned. Next week we'll have Dave Gordon from Audio Research, which has been one of the more requested brands for us to do these chats with, and then Michael Fremer from Stereophile and Analog Planet the week after. So those will both be very fun. I've met Dave a couple of times at events in the store, which hopefully we'll be able to do again sometime, which, those are always fun. But in the meantime, we've got these. So I'm looking forward to next week for sure. So all righty. Well, I think our last block of questions is kind of about the store and, what we've been doing more recently, I guess, rather than the history of it. So I guess a lot of people have probably already heard the story, and I kind of want to start it off with one question that I didn't put in the list just to throw you off. And we've had it come up in the questions on YouTube as well already, but I just give everybody an idea of how we're HiFi buys, I guess, and sort of how that happened. And the question we get asked every day pretty much about HiFi buys being open again, so even though, yeah. So I let you tell your version of that story.
Okay. It's the correct version, I guess, but
It certainly is. Yeah.
So I had my store, Audio Alternative, again, opened in 95 and moved out of that store and next door to it about a year and a half after that, and then expanded that store about a year after that. Kind of found the right square footage there. We needed a little bit more. I was in Lilburn for about 20 years and did a nice piece of business kind of in the middle of nowhere land for the people we do business with. So what was great about it is when people drove there, you knew they were interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we I had spent most of my life building inventory and getting to a good position, building relationships and that kind of thing with folks. And it was time for us to find a better location. I knew I wanted to move to Buckhead. I did an awful lot of research on Buckhead. At the time I was doing the research, there was kind of a realization that there's a certain amount of area in Buckhead that, and I don't know how many blocks it is, but it's a few blocks, and it does as much retail as the rest of the state. I don't know if that's still true today with a lot of the additions, but needless to say, when you look at those kind of equations, you really need to be in this area if you want to be a force. And as I said earlier, I don't do anything lightly. So there was no doubt that we needed to move down here. So, and at the same time, I was trying to look at names. We had the name Audio Alternative. Unfortunately, we didn't get the .com because I was like, negative internet. It's bad. Why would anybody want that? Well, I embrace it today, and do for many reasons, and I can explain that if anybody wants to know. But so anyway, in looking at that, Mel Silverman, who was the founder of HiFi Buy, has been a very good friend of mine and a customer for, I guess, 15 years. And we were communicating today. I hope I'm not putting the cat out of the bag, but they got a new dog today, and congrats to them.
Oh, wow.
And I actually got it yesterday. So since I've had HiFi, they were asking me a few questions on training and things along that lines. And I told them, ask the trainer, not me. I'm not the expert. So, and I think I've proven that. So we went back to the review for the trainer with HiFi. I got a C, my dog got an A.
Right.
So, but anyway, so Mel just suggested, you might want to think about, getting the HiFi Buys brand. And so I thought about it for a little bit, and there were a couple of difficulties with it. One was people's memory are greater than reality. And I knew that the store had a good reputation, but I was worried about us being able to live up to what people's memory of what that was, not what reality was, but what the memory was. And so that was.
We faced that a lot with stereos too.
Well,
people are chasing that ghost of a stereo they heard when they were kids, and
Yep, because that that feeling of whatever that is when you get it, it's like, oh my God, and it sticks with you. It's kind of funny. Everybody has that kind of little story about, oh my gosh. So HiFi Buys had gone bankrupt in I believe it was 2008, maybe 9. So they had a 13 store chain that was doing about $100 million. They were a big powerhouse in this industry, and they moved a ton of product. Jeffrey Snow, who had kind of taken them to the new heights after buying it from Mel Silverman. So what I did is their assets were sold to a clearinghouse. And so I called the clearinghouse and placed a phone call to them nearly every single day for, I think it was 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
And always left a message and that kind of thing. And nobody ever called me back. So I
remember that.
What's that?
I remember that.
I was pursuing it and pursuing it and pursuing it. And as I've said, I don't give up.
Right.
So anyway, I kept calling, and finally one day, oh, I can help you with that. I went, oh, well, did you get my messages? She said, no. Needless to say, I almost want to scream at her, but I was like, well, okay, there's something here I want, so let's be kind. And so anyway, we made arrangements to exchange phone numbers and that kind of thing. And I think it was 3 weeks or 4 weeks later, I was actually sitting up at Lanier having margaritas with some friends and was already 2 margaritas in. And she texted me and said, "Hey, you ready to negotiate?" So I kind of told all my buddies that were with me and said, "Hey, I need y'all to kind of keep me in my head here and check me and so on and so forth." And so anyway, she started here and I started way down here, and we wound up a lot closer to me than to them. I kind of told them I had already contacted an attorney, and basically what he advised me, and this is whatever that area of attorneyism is, but anyway, and that's not really a word, but so I bought like HiFi Buys Atlanta, HiFi Dash Buys. I bought all the .coms around it, and I basically just told her that I'm open up as HiFi Buys. Once I do and I don't have the .com, I don't need you anymore. So I was pretty hardcore in the negotiations, and anyway, we finished that up. And so anyway, HiFiBuys.com was really how I got HiFi Buys. I did not buy any of the assets. I didn't buy a mailing list. I didn't buy any of that stuff. All I wanted was the .com. And so anyway, we got that. And about a year later, I think that was 2013 was when we acquired that. And 2014, at the end of it, was when we were changing our brand to HiFi Buys. Yep. And then in 2015 was when we actually, 2014, I went through this enormous lease process with the people I'm leasing from. It took 9 months for some reason, and I lost almost a year of my lease. Anyway, so in June of 2015 is when we opened the store down here, and we're officially HiFi Buys in Buckhead.
Yeah, we moved the whole store from Lilburn to Buckhead in 5 days.
That was wow, what an experience.
That was crazy.
So I would love to share this with everybody because it is this team that I work for that did this, and I didn't hear a single complaint. I have no problem saying I worked my butt off.
What happened? We just didn't let you hear it.
At this very same time, before we opened the store, I was practicing to run a marathon. So those were 10 to 20 mile runs and 4 or 5 days a week. I was also living in Beaufort and trying to help take care of the store in Lilburn, as well as building the store in Buckhead. I still today have no idea how I survived that. Anyway, they were both kind of marathons together. So one meant something to the other and one meant something to the other. And so they were kind of related, and I just, again, was not going to fail. And so let's see, we opened in June of 2015, ran the marathon in October of 2015.
Yep.
And
Chicago Marathon, right? Yeah.
What's that?
The Chicago Marathon.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And my whole family came up. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Just a really great accomplishment, big experience for me.
Yeah.
So when we were moving, we had a fully operating store, and that was on a Saturday. And on Sunday, we started moving. And 9 days later, we had a fully operating store. And if you've ever been in a store, this is 1 ton of gear. And I cannot thank enough all the people that came out. We had manufacturers, I had customers, I had friends, I had employees. And I mean, everybody was just working their tail off. And I, again, see that as one of the greatest feats of my life, was getting that done with everybody being happy in the process. That was not easy. And I remember Mel Silverman came down. Thank you, Mel. And the old mayor of Atlanta, that was at the time that HiFi Buys opened up. He was here as well for the grand opening, and we had a little scissor cutting and that kind of thing. And it was kind of funny if you go back and look at the video. I'm like, all right, let's open it. I was turning around heading towards the door, and they were like, wait a minute, we got to cut the ribbon.
I remember.
So anyway, that's me. Let's get it. My dad was here, and I mean, tell you the
I'm surprised we're not doing this interview in the car on the way while you're on the way to. I'm amazed you could sit still right now.
I can tell you the relief that I had that day getting that store open. I mean, I just can't even tell you. It was a year and about 2.5 months in process.
Yeah.
From the time that I started negotiating the lease to getting the lease done to getting the building done and getting it open.
Yeah, it's huge.
No words can describe it. And no words to thank the people that were all involved. I mean, wow. Big deal.
Awesome. So let's what kind of talk about some of the stuff we see going forward for HiFi buys now, rather than the history of it. I'm going to start with a question that intrigued you, I think, but it was, so I don't want to make you pick a favorite, what we call a favorite child, in terms of a brand that we carry, because I know at least a few of them are watching right now. I'm interested to know if there's a product or a brand out there that we don't carry that is particularly intriguing or interesting to you.
You know, this was a really, really, really tough question. Because
I'd have one tough one.
So I did come up with something. Look at everybody's ears peek up.
Yeah.
It actually came up on Facebook last night. But I want to kind of answer the question first, and then I'll get into that.
Okay.
The answer is no, not really. I am enamored at the manufacturers that are in this building as we speak. We've added a few getting ready for e-commerce and that kind of thing as well as some things that we felt like we had a hole or two in the business. And so I really, when I look at what's in this building, I could not imagine. If you want HiFi, there is no reason in any way or world or shape or sense of it that you can't do business and have an amazing sounding system at any level in your house from this place. And I think the crew itself speaks volumes. If you go out and look at the reviews of, myself named, your name, Chris, Dave, Tom, Ed, all those guys, installation crew, Tom, the amount of years of experience in this building right now, there's, I think, 4 people with over 30 years of experience. And those are the people you'll come into contact with. And so I again, just, I don't think there's a thing that I would be looking for.
That's awesome.
Doesn't mean it won't happen. I just don't think.
Well, yeah, it's, I was going to say, and
the world moves on.
We don't sit still. So,
well, I'm very careful about who I do business with.
Absolutely.
And I mean very, very careful. And you've seen that over the time.
Absolutely.
And
we don't chase stuff. We don't change lines all the time. It's
correct. Well, I want stability.
Yeah.
I mean, the more we work, if you think about how long it takes you to understand a line and to work with it, and then to how that works with other brands and how you put all that together to make magic. Yeah. If you have to keep relearning that all the time by changing brands, you're really putting yourself behind.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense to do a bunch of changes all the time. There are people that, believe in doing that. I remember, and it was kind of a joke, Dave Gordon and I were talking about this the other day. When I had my store in Audio Alternative, there was a billboard right beside us. And there was another store in town that their model was that we sell demos all the time and that we give 20% off. So they put up on the billboard right by my store, 20% off everything. And it had all these great brands. And I remember Dave took a picture of that and sent it off to the brand people, the people that actually were in charge of those brands. And so his motto is, we own the building, we don't need to make any money. And sure enough, he didn't last. So, it's there's a lot to this. This is a tough business. This is not something that's for the faint of heart. You got to know what you're doing. And you've got to, be able to play right with people. I always tell everybody you have to be a chameleon at some times, and then other times you have to really, stand by what you mean. I think, one of the biggest things that I've always taught myself is don't ever, ever, ever settle. And what I mean by that is don't let the customer settle either. So if you think something is better for him, make sure you give him time and the ability to buy that item and not just what he'll buy that day. And I have seen so much of that in this world, and it just infuriates me because I'm the one that normally has to deal with it. Because after people get into it and make the quick move, they come to me and try and figure out what they can do. And so, we've always been that company in town, and I have no problem saying that we have done right by everybody we've worked with. And I stand on that.
So I totally agree. And I've seen countless times in the time I've been with you where people come in and buy something completely different from what they thought they were coming in to buy and are much happier because of it. So
yeah,
it really
what are my instructions to you when you talk to a customer?
all
Tell
the
them
time.
exactly what the hell you think is the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Which is, that's the right way to do things. And everyone's unique. Um, and that's part of why I love it is every system and every person's unique and has different needs. And
yep.
we have the ability to, make a system that's right for each person. So
yep.
I really love that. So
treat them as individuals.
now I need to know what this brand or product on Facebook was that inspired you.
Okay.
Last night.
So I am without a doubt a stereo guy. Okay. I build great theaters. I know that. And I do like the visual part of concerts. So what is it? I think that Tidal talked yesterday about doing Atmos music.
Oh, wow.
And so Atmos in theaters has really done an amazing upgrade to the theater, and I agree with it. I'm not big on digital processing. I'm not big on those kind of things. I think all that adds noise and those kind of things. But I do think that there is a lot of fun that could be gained from something called Atmos music. Probably still not for me. Okay, but I say probably.
Right.
One thing that I've always done is try to have an open mind. I have tunnel vision, but an open mind. I don't know. You just got to have that brain. But it's what I try to do. I'm very focused on where I want to go and what I want to do, and at the same time, I have to have open mind to be able to be flexible enough to reach people and to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for me, all the employees, the manufacturers, and for the people sitting in front of us that want our help.
Yep. So Tidal Atmos music, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're looking at. Well, that segues nicely into our next question about interested what your thoughts are on the most exciting or important trends right now in the industry or in sort of music.
Well, streaming.
Thoughts on that? Streaming.
I'm just going to say it. For those who own CDs, give up the fight. I mean, I'm not saying you should never have a CD player or anything, but my gosh, I fought streaming. And I mean, I fought it tooth and nail. And
not very long ago. Yeah.
Yes. I even have a hard drive full of stuff that sits here at the store and I don't even use.
Right.
So I just, through Cobuzz and David Solomon, Tidal, MQA, Ken Forsyth, I mean, my Lord, I subscribe to both of those things here at the store and both of them at home. I mean, my gosh, with companies like DCS.
The way we listen to music at the store.
Yep. I mean, you look at entry level at like Blue Sound, $549. You can stream that, go up to DCS, and oh my gosh, you're sitting at world-class audio levels. Yeah. And there's just, I don't understand the fight. Well, let me back up. Okay, I do understand the fight because
there's a lot of ways to do it. So
I was just earlier because I'm in the business, I guess. But so let me apologize to anybody out there that I may have hurt their feelings.
We can help.
Anything else? Yes, I think that we are finally at a stage in this industry where getting rid of noise is becoming a part of more resolution. This gear has always had a pretty good amount of resolution to it. We just have had so much noise that's covered up a lot of what it's available. And so we're seeing that through a lot of products. I give AudioQuest a huge, I mean, my gosh, Garth Powell, I'll fight to have him on one of these HiFi chats, and I promise you I'll win that. And
he's definitely been one of the most requested people.
Yeah, very enthusiastic guy. He's probably one of the few people who'd be more enthusiastic than me on a chat. So I'll be excited to have him.
I know Michael Fremer will be fun.
Yeah, I think that'll be great too.
Together will be fun.
Yeah. Dave's more reserved. That's just what he is, and it's great. Yeah. I love Dave. But I think that AudioQuest with the power cords and the line conditioners, Mike Laffis with HRS. I mean, dude, you are amazing. The engineering ability of some of these people that are out there is we're really reaching new heights. We're getting systems with such absolutely just dead background noise floors. It's just wow. And it's allowing so much more to come out. And this has actually happened in the transition and a lot of studying and things and products and me asking people about stuff. And and putting it in systems here, and really understanding and seeing where it goes. And if you ever want to talk about noise floors and kind of where they go and what happens to the systems when that, when we take out what we really don't even know is there, because I didn't really know it was there, and the amount that it is, and it's huge, just big, big, big. So I'd say those are two trends that I see that are really, really getting somewhere, and probably have had the most effect on me in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So kind of going from that, how as a store, and I guess for you personally, how do you identify and decide what makes sense to do for the store? New technologies, new products, all that kind of stuff. How do you identify what's worth going for and what maybe isn't worth chasing?
Okay, well,
It's tough.
This is a tough question to answer because it comes from many different things. First of all, I'm just a pop. I'm not made of money. So there are financial, restrictions on some of this. I have always grown my store slowly, but with aggressive thought. And I think that's probably a very appropriate way to put it. I think, I talked about tunnel vision, and I think that I know that there are a ton of people that love music. It's a matter of tying people to the music. And the only way we can do that is by making more and more emotional systems, having sound that affects people.
Yeah.
I had a guy during one of these HiFi chats that probably is on today, or at least I hope he is. But anyway, he called me. We had an hour and a half conversation, and he said, "Man, HiFi chats just got me all excited about music again." And so, there's really no way. Again, everybody loves music. Some literally want to get into this better, and a lot of people don't know that they do. I didn't, and look where I sit. Right. And so all I'm saying is, I think the biggest thing that we can do is help to expose ourselves as a store to as many people as possible that might have an open mind to it. And that's not about business. That is really about helping them get more enjoyment out of life and find that place of peace. It is so hard to find today. And the thing that I try and get to, and that's why the noise reduction is so big. When you can find that, your brain is not as busy in front of a system that has less noise in it. So it's much more peaceful on your brain. And so therefore it allows things to kind of just, I tell everybody, and whether they believe me or not, I don't care. But I solve almost every single problem I have by sitting in front of a system, not thinking about it. Because my brain relaxes, and it allows it just to have a much more mellow thought, so it's not pushed or rushed or anything along that lines. And all of a sudden, I'll just have this little thought that'll come in my head, and I go, "Oh, that's it." And so it allows, I don't know, it just allows me to go places I can't go anywhere else.
Yeah. Awesome.
Does that cover that?
Yeah, I think so. I
could talk about that in 19 different ways.
Yeah, I mean, it has been hard to sort of quantify how that, how we, say, is this thing we're chasing. I think probably the biggest jump that we've done probably recently is the headphone bar.
Yes.
And
that's been great.
A lot of that was, not even necessarily in the industry seeing that, but questions, it was responding to stuff from customers, really. I think was kind of how that all started was, people just, I saw that there was a want from customers to have a place to go and listen to a bunch of headphones. And it's not necessarily something we knew a lot about going into it, but we've learned a lot. And I think it's been a really great addition to the store. So we certainly encourage people to, ask us about stuff we don't have. And, certainly anything that interests you, we're here to look into it and, see if it makes sense. But we can help with anything that you're wondering about audio for sure at the store.
Yep.
So,
I always tell everybody we're in this journey with you,
yeah.
and we want what you want. Just
Right.
sometimes we and you need to have an open mind. So one of the things that I love is like, all the music that I know pretty much got shared with me sometime. And I
Yeah.
love sharing music with others. And the same thing goes with gear and ideas and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, that's what communicating is. And, one of the toughest little statements I have that I say to people is basically, don't be a yes man and I won't be with you.
Yeah.
And because if we're just yesing each other, we're just wasting each other's time. And so I very much believe let's talk in reality. Let's have a real conversation. And because through that conversation, as most all of us know, as we kind of talk through things, we figure out our way. So conversation is the way that happens. And for me, it doesn't happen in what I'd call, I don't read reviews a lot. Doesn't mean that they aren't valid and that kind of thing. And I'm sorry to the reviewers out there. But I do read some, but
Nothing replaces being able to hear it for yourself. I mean,
and I got asked the other day by a gentleman, and I thought it was a very interesting question. He said, so do you sit at your system and kind of, wow, that guy's amazing, 2 feet back of this and, 3 feet of right of that and so on. Anybody that knows me knows I don't listen to music like that at all. I don't analyze it. I don't do any of that. It is all by feel. It either feels fucking awesome or it doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
And
to me, that's the difference between listening to the music and listening to your system, right? Listening to the equipment versus listening to the music. And
a lot of times that comes from the system you build.
Yeah.
And that's what I just, it's so hard that when you have an analytical person, which I am, and I have searched and searched and searched for systems that don't make me do that. And yet I am there.
Yep.
And I can prove it.
Yep.
So
we've kind of touched on this, a lot. And, just if there's anything else that you think, just in your opinion, what is it that separates us, being HiFi Buys from larger online stores or big box stores, any of that, the electronics, other places to get stereos, basically?
That again is our culture and our team. I don't think that there's probably a more comfortable store that somebody can walk into on the planet. We are as open and as happy and as greetingful and all of that as we can be, but we're also not stool pigeons. And, the thing that we want to do is help people, and it's genuine. And I think that, the crew that's here is, they're so capable. It's not all me, though it's looked upon that way sometimes, but it is not all me, and it can't be all me, because if it is all me, I can't have the crew, because I myself can't do it all. That was one of the bigger realizations as I started to grow, is realizing that I need to let loose of some stuff. So I myself do my very best to be out on the floor. These days on the computer a lot, my fingers are sore. Finding, just to have conversations and to be able to help people reach what they want to do. One thing I'll never do is limit a customer. I think that's something that's done an awful lot. And I have never done that in any part of my world ever. I always believe in people. I believe in the good of people, sometimes to a fault. But I always believe in, the good, and I'm always positive.
Yep. Well said. So, I guess we got one more question, then we'll answer some. We got a few questions in the chat.
God.
But
God. You tell me who asked the questions?
I'll tell you. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
so this is kind of the question you've brought up at the end of all of these so far, and it's kind of the thing on the forefront of everybody's mind, or even just lurking in right behind in the background. But just interested in hearing you share how the whole global pandemic has affected your workflow, and how how you're doing business, how you're communicating with customers, all of that. So.
Well, it has basically flipped my world upside down. I saw this coming earlier, and I had management team meetings on Monday, which we have. And about 2 weeks before this thing hit here, I was telling them it was coming. And so one of the first things we did was actually get a new phone system, VoIP phone system, so that basically this little guy right here becomes my store phone. It now has to be charged a lot more often. But you end up finding we were actually transferring. So when all of us were home, which was kind of never quite all the way there or not, we were an essential business. We do home networks and things. So it allowed us to kind of be open, but on a skeleton crew, but also have the showroom closed. So I called it clopen, closed, open. I have one employee that absolutely hates that. So I can't wait for him to hear it. But you end up finding, we got the phone system so that basically we can actually be on the cell phone talking to a customer and actually transfer it over to somebody, and it just goes and rings on their cell phone at their house. So that's been extraordinary. I will tell you, when this whole thing started, I told myself from a personal perspective and a business perspective that I will come out of it better than I went in. And I think that's absolutely going to be the case. We have spent a ton of time. I will tell you that my workload has increased simply because of having to spend so much time adjusting. When this thing first came on, it was it was almost every day or every other day you were having to adjust. And then it got to about every 2 or 3 days. And then it got to about every 3 or 4 days. And then it got to about a week. Now I feel like we're adjusting kind of back about every week. That's what it kind of feels like. Okay. But during that same time, back in, I think it was the end of February, we had built a new website that was up in December. And that thing was just, it really communicated who and what we are. So I invite all of y'all to go to the website, and I have no problem saying I'm very proud of it.
I'll put a link in the YouTube chat here.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Go take a look.
Definitely. If you haven't been there.
So what you'll find is that that website got up. We spent a long time, nearly 6 months, before we actually started putting it together. And we did that through who are we? What are we? What is our culture? What is it that we want to communicate? And we wanted to communicate the in-store experience on the web. And so I think that got along very, very well. It's nearly impossible to communicate the whole experience because without being here, you just can't know. But if y'all want to go look at reviews, type in HiFi Buys reviews, HiFi Buys Atlanta reviews. And again, you'll see tons of them out there, and everybody here pretty much listed by name. So that means they actually built a relationship, because they wouldn't remember your name if they didn't do that. So and then so what this is coming to is next Friday, somewhere in there. I'm having to rely on Chris to do this. So I'm going to be at the beach till Wednesday, and I get back on Thursday. So I'm hoping he's going to have it up before then. But that's applying a little bit of beach pressure to him. But you'll find that we're going to have an e-commerce site that will be integrated into our website. We've been working really, really hard on it. We are going to walk before we crawl. So it's not going to be this huge splash of 19 billion things and $4 million worth of inventory and all that kind of thing. But it should be a lot of fun. We're very excited about it. It's done well. And I know that it's something that we need to do to be a more viable business in today's world. And we were going to do it at the end of this year, but with this COVID thing coming on, I think there was just no doubt that we needed to get on it and get involved in it and help customers be able to come to us through another door. And so we're very excited about it. I want y'all to keep an eye on it. So if you will, go to our hifibuys.com and sign up on the newsletter. It'll kind of keep you advised of what's going on, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. But anyway, I'm really proud of the crew, and Chris, proud of you, man, for hammering this thing down. The guy's got one logical mind, and I think you'll see that as we kind of get into this thing. His logic, my logic sometimes don't meet, but then we beat each other's heads out, and then we figure out what's right to do. And so we go from there. But anyway, Chris, I'm very proud.
I'm excited. I'm
very proud of you.
Sure.
and actually proud of the whole team because everybody's contributing.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So,
yep.
It's exciting.
What else? We were, again, did home networks during that time as everybody's networks are kind of stressed and that kind of stuff. So if anybody needs any network help, we're very capable. I just, I think it's, this has been an amazing 2.5 months, and we have accomplished a lot. I have my whole team together, which I am most proud of. They are all working full time. And, back in 2008, when we had that terrible, depression or whatever, that, shall we say, the same thing happened. I actually kept my entire crew together. At that time, there were other stores going out. One was actually owned by Ed Scruggs, who works for me. And he actually carried Audio Research and Magnapan and recommended to Audio Research and Magnapan that I get those lines. And so I did. So it was a time of not a lot of money coming in, and I was acting in strength. I didn't have a lot of money, but it just seemed like the right thing to do. So it was a good, proper vision. And we have just loved working with those brands, and love having Ed here. And he's, I don't know, I love all these guys. We get along great. It is hard to believe that we have as many people as we do working together. My CFO, Robin, and Bonnie, my marketing lady, and she has a much better title than I described. My apologies, but
we're not big on titles.
No, we're not. We really all work together. Occasionally I'll drop the hammer down, but it's not very often. These guys know what to do. I always tell them, y'all are adults, be adults. You don't need me. So, they all have the ability to make their own decisions, and they're given that leeway.
That means big discounts this weekend while Alan's out of town. So that's what that means.
I'll leave HiFi here to get everybody in line.
There you go. He'll be the spy. So, all right. Well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be doing this chat with you. So, thanks for breaking down and doing this. I thought it was a great idea when it came up, and turned out even better than I thought. So
good.
So you ready to answer some questions from?
Gosh, I think so.
From YouTube here. All right. We'll see, huh?
Yes.
All right. We'll start up at the top. So they started coming in early, but
I bet.
Ruby Era 58, who's been with us a bunch on these.
Yep.
So welcome back. He wants to know what brand of vacuum you recommend these days.
Oh my gosh. I sold Electrolux, and I have to admit I would still recommend them today.
Awesome.
Great
awesome.
question.
And then a little more stereo related. He is, let's see, says, what are some of the components in various categories that you feel are overachievers, or particularly notable in the sound you get for the money? So great value products.
Value is a weird thing. A very good question. Thank you. Yeah. Value is more than a product. And unfortunately, we get in this world and we see this, numbers and specs and all that, and I don't pay any attention to any of it. Because really it's about the company and the quality of its sound, but it's also about its heritage and its future. And you have to look at all that, and you have to look at how they handle themselves and whether they have tunnel vision. Companies that don't have tunnel vision will go all over the map, back and forth and all over the place, and they'll never have any focus. And there's no way in the world for those companies to ever be on top of the world. Can't happen. So, so if I was to look at that, I would certainly say DCS. You guys are awesome. I know a couple of you are probably out there watching and probably even got a DMS question from one or two of you. But DCS handle themselves extraordinary. They're just a great company, and they also build product unlike anything else out there. We sell a ton of it. I wished I would have made the relationship sooner, but I'm not sure we as a company were ready for it. So I think we did the things at the right times. I could not be prouder of them company, and I love the folks I work with. You guys are, John Quick, Jesse, you guys are just great. So plus y'all plus you always have fun with me, which was good. And I love coming and seeing the factory and that kind of thing. Anyway, that's great. Let's see, Vandersteen, my gosh, Richard, dude, you're the dude. I don't need to say anymore. Richard's a great guy.
No, I mean, I'll chime in. I mean, as far as value, I mean, that certainly is the one, there's value at all price points. And that's one of the biggest driving forces behind the products that we carry at the stores, that we think that at every price point, every product we have at the store is an extraordinary value. Sound that you get from $500 to $60,000. There's, there really is a real value at all of those products. It sounds kind of like a cheesy answer, but I mean, there is stuff out there that isn't as good of a value at all of these price points.
So just to let everybody know too, I spend a lot of time talking to people in almost all cases before we ever do anything. Gosh, DCS, that was years. Wilson, we took on recently, was years. And that's another company that, they're doing things differently. And they're absolutely, they are, kind of what helped this high-end audio get to the stratospheres that it is today. And without thoughts of that kind of thing, it's very difficult to not, see that. And, I think, Richard steps into what he's done as well with the carbon fiber drivers, which I know is probably, I don't think there's probably a better driver in the marketplace, but drivers alone don't make a speaker. And Richard has done an enormous job applying that speaker in ways that are just phenomenal. So let's see. I could almost go through every single line in the store because Audio Research just came out with the Ref 160 monos. They're killing it. The Ref 6 to Ref S6 SE is killing it. Again, HRS, there's nothing like it on the planet. If you want noise reduction in your system and, you can buy other stuff, but you ain't gonna get where he is. And, excuse my Southern slang there. But let's see what else. Audio Quest, again, if you go through this store, and I do mean step by step, Parasound, NAD, EAT,
Luna.
Gosh, Clear Audio, Rega, Project, headphones. I can't even name them all right now, but I'm telling you that this is basically a store full of really, really, really good companies that handle themselves properly. They do the right things. They have good history. They have a good future. They know what that future is. They're, looking at it way down the road. That's another thing I look at for myself as an individual, for myself as a company, and for my employees is long-range vision.
Yeah.
So if you're not looking down the road, you're gonna fail.
All righody.
Does that answer that?
That answers it. That cleared it.
That was a great question.
Yeah. So next one is Robert T asked, I think during our talk about the history of HiFi Buys, if we were ever affiliated with the old HiFi Buys from the 80s and 90s.
No. As a matter of fact, when I had my store open, HiFi Buys was the only store that ever got in my hair. So I'll tell you a little story I never will forget. A guy came in and bought used gear from me, and I got him all excited. He came in just to see what was up and so on. So we started working together, and about 3.5, 4 hours later, he bought a system and took it home, and it was about, I don't know, probably $3,500, $4,000. Blown away. Well, about 2 weeks later, he comes back so excited to tell me that he just spent 45 grand at HiFi Buys. And how excited I should be. And I was, but it's when I kind of started to realize, well, shit, okay, well, I'm shooting myself in the foot and getting these guys all excited and don't have the ability to take them anywhere.
Right.
So when I first opened the store, I'd hoped to sell maybe a $10,000 pair of speakers at some point, not what I'm selling today. And just so everybody knows, that comment is not made that it's all about high end, because it's not. We start at Sonos, and we have amps at $400 and speakers and turntables under that and so on. So it's, I just want you to love your system. We're on the journey with you, and I don't care, where you want to be in it. We just want you to love it, and we'll work tirelessly to make sure that happens.
Yep. So yeah, back to the question. No, we weren't associated with the old HiFi Buys. We do have 2 employees though that used to work there.
Thank you for getting me in track. Yes, Tom Gallagher.
Yeah.
Actually was actually was the guy that started the installation team that Jeffrey Snow purchased to kind of carry on down that road.
Yeah.
And we've got Michael Patrick here, who worked there as well, and always had some great experiences out there. Who else we got?
That's the 2 guys that work here. I mean, and then obviously we've, everybody around the business, from all the people that left HiFi Buys and are still in the industry everywhere, from David Solomon and Kathleen Thomas and everybody. I mean,
it was a great company
every day.
There is a ton of people in the industry that came from this company or came from that company.
Right.
Excuse me. And basically their culture was very, very good. They did a lot of training.
Yeah.
David. So, but anyway, really, really great stuff. And I love that they still have so much love for the brand, and it proves that what they built was special.
Yeah. So, and we're carrying it on. So,
yep, absolutely.
All right. So next question, Ralph T.
Hey, Ralph.
He says, do you remember the most expensive sale you ever made? And when was it, and what components?
Yes.
You don't have to drop names.
It was probably about $370,000. A lot of the systems that I do, we do in kind of chunks. But this was probably one of the biggest chunks. And it was a pair of Anderstein 7s, HRS, air amplifiers, audio research preamp, DAC, VPI, TNT HRX turntable. It's a few years ago. Did one recently with a big pair of JL Audio Gothams. And we did some ECS product in there, and HRS and a Brinkman balance and that kind of thing. And probably going to probably do my first close to or north of $1 million system probably sometime this year. So, gentlemen, I've been working with for about 20 years.
So we'll ask again next time on Alan Jones HiFi Buys Chat, or HiFi Chat Part 2.
Listen, those systems are so much fun to do, but all the systems are a lot of fun to do. So one thing you got to know about me, I do not give a damn about money. And anybody that knows me knows that's true. It is a necessary part of life, but I don't go near the cash register. I never take money. I occasionally do deposits. I have a CFO that takes care of all that, because none of that.
It's not about that. Yeah.
It is not what motivates me. Yes.
Right. So, but it is fun to, I understand the question for sure.
It motivates. I mean, to have somebody have faith in you.
Those are fun tools, or fun toys.
I want to say this because it's, over the years I've sold, tens, maybe $100 million worth of stuff.
Yeah.
For that amount of people to have that much faith in me, it's, I don't have words.
Awesome. Well, let's go to another question then.
Okay.
This is a good one. This is from Brad O, a frequent contributor.
Brad O.
HiFi Chats.
It's his new name, Brad O.
Not Richard Vanderstein, which may be confusing based on his name tag during his HiFi Chat, but it's a story behind that. But Brad says, what is the most enjoyable activity for you during a typical workday? It's a good one.
That is a great question.
No, it's not answering emails.
I would probably say that when I have somebody comes in that is interested and kind of has that wow moment, when they kind of get it, or they, I've had several customers through the years that have come in and listened to my systems, talk to me and that kind of thing. And always kind of, Alan, you're such a straight shooter and I love your gear and that kind of thing. And then go out and buy another system and come back after both those systems and go, I'm still not getting what I want. And that's my biggest joy, is when they say, all right, Alan, I'm here. In other words, I have tried to build a loyal relationship from day one with anybody that I work with. And I will work tirelessly for that. My team knows that and that kind of thing as well. But that's probably my biggest joy, but it's not typical that it happens every day by any means. But, because God, if it did, that'd be real problems. When you have somebody that's done all of that and then says, you know what, I'm here, I am, what do we do? And that actually happened today. So, and a gentleman bought, a Ref 6 SE and a JC5 Parasound, another great value product. Gentleman did some online business and was very unhappy, and had been talking to me back and forth over the next few months. And I just keep dropping him an email every month or so, just saying, how are you? And he responded and came in today and kind of went, all right, I get why this is what it is. And, I have faith. And so, we respond to that faith and that loyalty. I mean, it goes both ways, and it should. So, this fact that the fact that I've been sitting here for 35 years doing this stuff, or 36 or 7 or whatever the hell it is now, if I'm a pretty intelligent guy, I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm a pretty intelligent guy and I love learning. So I guess my thought is that if you think you can go out and read the internet and outdo me, I don't think so. And I also think that at the same time, when I'm out looking for something, I'm also going to go to a professional and use their advice. And people that know me know that I do that, because every single manufacturer that I work with, I am asking them questions all the time, because I want to know and I want to learn and I want to get better. Because anybody that thinks they're a know-it-all in this industry is absolutely full of shit. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
All right. Anyway, sorry guys, a little passion coming out there.
That's all right. So I got one. Let's see. Rob T again. Favorite demo tracks. So this says for tube and for solid state equipment, though I'm interested to know if there's any difference for you.
No difference.
Yeah.
Amp for amp, preamp for amp, player for player.
Good music is good music.
I think we talked about this in one of the HiFi chats somewhere, where basically, an amp is an amp. Don't buy tubes because they all sound that way, and solid state because it all sounds that way, because none of that's true.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So,
yeah.
Gosh, demo tracks. I mean, we've got a playlist out there called Crazy House of Sweet Jams.
Funky House of Sweet
Funky
Jams.
House of Sweet Jams. My guys had to name it that. So anyway, now
9 hours of great music for.
Now that you've listened to me for an hour and 45 minutes, you know why they call it that. So, I would pay attention to that. The one song I mentioned, that Liberty by Net Aspect, big time. There's a song out there called Draw Your Swords that I thought was pretty cool. Played that for a while.
Angus and Julia Stone, right?
Yep. And, there's my stuff is, I don't mind saying, I mean, everybody's looking for all these incredible tracks that have all this stuff going on. And I do, again, more stuff by feel than anything. So most of my stuff is not going to be what I'd call super complex, big stuff.
It is interesting to me with the tracks, at least over the last couple of years with Tidal and Qobuz, now that it's really, exploded our ability to listen to new music in the store. I can always tell when something's going to stick. It's like, somebody will play something and it's like everybody sort of comes, and there's like, oh, what is that song, or what is that? And it's, you can tell like right away the first couple of times it gets played in the store is like, oh, I'm going to hear this for the next 3 months.
I was going to look at my one of the playlists that we do here, and see if I could draw up a song from it if I can get on here real quick. Gregory Porter. I mean, anything that guy does. I mean, these guys just got soul, like, you know, nobody's business. That voice is so much fun. Brian Bromberg, love his thing, My Bass. You know, I used to do Buddha's Flower, Bought My Liebart. That was a big song a long time ago. Quite honestly, doesn't have the fidelity it should. Fanfare for the Common Man, it's a big one. Sam Smith, guy's got an amazing voice, but God, that's sad stuff. Oh God.
Yeah.
Anything by Sam Cooke, I'll listen to anytime, any day. I don't care. Holly Cole, this Death Row by Chris Stapleton's pretty cool. I like it quite well. Another thing, was it Frida Writings, Unconditional? Really cool tune. I like that. So I mean, there's some. There's this also kind of this weird version of Roxanne done by Dub.
Yeah.
Zan.
Yeah, I've heard that at the store. It's kind of a reggae.
Anyway, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and he kind of gets into Roxanne, and then they go off into this tangent, and then they kind of come back. It's, I don't know, pretty wild.
It is interesting, yeah. So
considering they go into tangents, it probably fits me well.
Yeah. So here's we got a question from Eric L. Hi, Eric. Thanks for joining us. And he said he loves coming by the store and getting Italian food from across the street. So
awesome. Can't blame you. Just don't have the lasagna, man. That stuff's like crap.
Amazing. But I think I know what your feelings on this will be, but I'm interested to hear them. But
will you answer it first for me?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Please.
No. So it's will WISA. So it's a wireless protocol, or similar wireless low latency transmissions with active speakers replace speaker cables. And do you think that there is a big difference in quality?
Okay. You know, all right. So I talk about tunnel vision and open-minded. I'm always willing to listen, but what has been proven to me so far is that wired is always better than wireless. Will it remain that way? You know, people are talking about powered speakers taking over passive speakers. I don't know whether that's true either. So, you know, it's there are problems and sacrifices in nearly everything, including yourself in your daily lives. So we have to kind of balance out what is the best place for us to go at this time with what we have. And so that's kind of the way I kind of look at things and try to make the best decisions I can at the time. But I, you know, in looking down the road, you know, I'm sure wireless is going to get better, but I also think wired's going to get better because the cabling will get better. So as we add more and more wireless, there's also going to be more and more wireless interference. So that can create noise on top of those bands and things. So we just, you know, I don't know. I'd love to be able to give you an answer and tell you I'm a prophet, but if I was, I wouldn't need to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to for me right now is we've never heard something transmitted wirelessly that hasn't sounded better if it was wired.
Yeah, some of the sub transmitters are not bad just because they're doing limited bandwidth.
Right.
So we have had some pretty good experience with those, but not full bandwidth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where we're at. And I mean, it's, you know, on the side that I do as far as networking and that kind of stuff, without any regard to audio, I mean, it still rings true, and it will forever, I think, is, you know, my rule of thumb is if it doesn't move, plug it in.
Yep.
So wireless is for stuff that moves from room to room, and you know, we can do that with headphones on audio. So all right, so let's see another question. We've got Jesse L.
Oh God. Hey Jesse.
He says, what is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you while at a customer's house?
I'm trying to pick one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've called a customer by the wrong name. I've had my pants split. One of my very early experiences.
When your pants split?
What's that?
Did you finish the job after your pants split?
Yes.
That's great.
So one of the things that I had was when we first, I was the very first Dish Network certified installer in Atlanta. It was literally, I was in class 3 days before we opened the store. We nicknamed it, after I went out on a few jobs, Dish Not Work. And so we would actually go out to the place. We'd get paid, I don't know, $189, $220 or something to install it. And you have to remember, this is the time when 2 people at the store, me and my ex. And so I'm out there in the morning doing this thing. And then, so you go out there and you get it all hooked up. Now, when I worked for Satellite Center, we used to do C-band. So that was basically big old huge dishes that had an arc that you'd have to line that arc up to all the satellites 22,000 miles out into space. That was really, really difficult to do. This was set it up, lock it into one satellite, you're done. So it was really easy. I knew what I was doing. And you would get the satellite receiver on, you'd hook the thing up, and then just, and then sometime within the next 2 to 14 hours, it would turn on. Well, you can't collect from the customer, and he wants you to make it work. So they were some really, really, really difficult times. I have no idea why the hell I ever did it, except that I knew I needed income. So, yeah. But yeah, and I also remember installing a satellite on top of a guy's roof that had an angle about like that. I remember trembling coming off his roof. And he said, well, he said, man, it looks like you got that done okay. I said, yeah, I'm never fucking going up there again.
I love it.
But anyway, that was, anyway, his name was Bob, and been a great customer, been just lovely folks. We did a theater for him and that kind of thing as well. He recently sold his house and moved into a smaller place, and we did a little system for him there as well. But awesome. Anyway, great guy. But yeah, I got off that roof and I was like, whoa, not doing that. I mean, I had ropes tied to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Crazy stuff. But I've at that time I'd do anything for everybody. Now I just get my guys to.
There you go. All right, we got one more question.
Awesome.
From Eric L again. Of all the streaming services, what is your favorite for quality and your favorite for easy multi-room navigation? And then to tie onto that, do you have any experience with Rune?
Okay, so so I am a guy that likes reduced noise. I do think that MQA is pretty much about their stuff. I kind of like it. It just feels a little calmer to my brain. I listen, and so that's available on Tidal. But I listen to Qobuz, and I'm very, very happy with it too. So I would tell you, find the streaming service that has the things that you like on it, okay, and use it. And then buy Rune, period.
Right.
No question. No question at all.
Which means use Tidal or Qobuz.
Yes, use Tidal and or Qobuz. We use both. And I will tell you, we are almost basically to a point that if you're not a Rune endpoint, we almost don't even want you. And that sounds weird, but Rune's got their shit together.
It's hard to go back once you start with Rune, for sure.
So one of the great things about them is you can buy Blue Sound and you can use all their stuff in one ecosystem. And you can buy Sonos and you can buy Hios and you can buy Name and you can buy whatever. But what you have to do is kind of be locked into that ecosystem with that company's product. What Rune allows you to do is for me to hook up a DCS Vivaldi and a Blue Sound, whatever their little speaker is, and play them both from the same app. It's just, they have the best co-rating or whatever you want to call it when you search for something. If you don't spell the name right, it'll probably still find it. Any of the other services, if you don't spell a name right, you're good luck.
Yeah.
You end up finding they have, the words. They have, if you got a Sony TV and Chromecast, you can just basically put all the words right up on the TV if it's in the room. I know that's sacrilege for some, but you end up finding me and my girlfriend at one point were actually sitting there with that going up on the screen. The words were going across the screen, and all of a sudden we started singing, and it was like just, I don't know, it turned into an hour of, I don't know, Probably something nobody ever wants to hear again.
So yeah, title and or Qobuz. Just listen to CD quality music. That's your best chance to get good sound.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that everything's recorded well. So just because it's CD quality doesn't mean it's going to sound good. It just means that it has a chance to.
Yep.
And
another thing that I would say on that is that Pandora was one of my favorite things to use.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was always so compressed, and I'm not a big fan of compressed music. I want what's there. And you end up finding that when Rune did radio, that just completely changed the game for me in the sense of there is no reason not to do this, because you can actually type in a song or a artist and hit play radio, and boom, it's just going to start. And the more you do that, the more it's going to learn about you, and you end up finding they're pretty damn well on it. So, yeah. And I know that some of the streaming services are trying to work towards that as well. I think David Solomon mentioned that the other day for Qobuz. So I think they're working hard on the app to try and get people away from using another app to do it and that kind of thing, so we'll see how this thing progresses. But there's some pretty smart people out there working on a lot of stuff. And so I expect to have some very nice things coming along. Streaming's here. It's not coming. It's done. Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere.
And that's not against anybody else that wants to, I mean, gosh, you take a DCS transport and put an SAC in it. My Lord. Okay. Is that better? Yes. Okay. But you're going to pay for it. And there's nothing wrong with it. If you want that, that is a wonderful way to go. So,
plus you can have both.
Yes, that is the beauty of it.
And throw a turntable in there.
Thank you. I've talked too much. I got no more words.
Yeah, you look ready for the beach. So
I am.
I think we've beat up on you enough. It's just about closing time. I think it's perfect. So that was our last question. I think you made it through. So well done.
Thank you all for tolerating me.
Appreciate it. Now nobody can say you don't know what it's like to be in the interviewee seat. Right?
That is true. I even got a little nervous for doing this, and now I understand what I put everybody else through.
Yeah, I'm ready to go back behind the camera. So, Awesome. Thank you for doing that. Have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you.
I won't call you a single time. Maybe. We'll see. But
awesome. Anyway, I'm there for you.
Chris
if you need to know that.
And Alan signing off. And if you need anything from Alan, he'll be back next Thursday. So.
Yep. HiFi Chats number 9, guys. Thanks for being here.
Number 9. And join us for number 10 next week with Dave Gordon and Audio Research.
Yep.
And we'll see everybody then. So thanks again.
Thank you.